Alright, let's get this show on the road. And it looks like my audio is actually working this time, unlike yesterday. So I think we're good to jump right in. We've been working on Android 17 for a while, and after a little bit of a hiatus last week, we can get back into this guy, get some actual good work done on this, hopefully today. As I mentioned during the end of our last stream, which, by the way, if you missed out on, was another critique stream, which we did on Sunday, we had a lot of fun. I think I looked at like 6 different characters yesterday, which we normally don't do on Sundays. Normally that happens on Saturdays, so that will be happening again next Saturday at noon EST, doing the live critique stream. So if you guys want in on that, all you have to do is send me your model through email, follygon@gmail.com, and we will take a look right here on stream. It'll be a lot of fun. But again, that'll be on Saturday, not on Sunday like we did this weekend. Let's see. So we got Android 17 here. There's a lot of things that need to happen here before we can get to that next stage. Honestly, at this point, I really think what needs to happen so that we can kind of push this to the next level is going to be fixing a few things in the face, a few things in the hair, and then I think we'll really kind of be at I would say hair, face, and hands are going to be what we need to push this to the level where we can start posing the character. The gloves will be done probably asymmetrically, I'm guessing, based on what I'm seeing here. How's it going, Francisco? Welcome back, my dude. How's the head coming along? Francisco sent in a model yesterday to get looked at during the live stream critique session, and he had worked on a planar head character. So we looked at that and just making mainly some proportional, like large-scale proportional changes to it. But yeah, I'm sure he's still kind of toiling away on that. I don't know if he's had an opportunity since yesterday. We just looked at it. But these gloves, I can probably do these asymmetrically just because of the different poses in the fingers. I'm thinking it'll be easier to do those separately. And the things that really need to kind of happen to get this guy to a level where we can start posing it are going to be in the face, hair, and kind of just finishing up some stuff in the hands. Other than that, a lot of this is already at a point where I can start, going into posing and taking it to that next stage. So let's really kind of hone in here on the face and hair for a little bit, and to do that, I will import my image that I have of just my character's head. Add to spotlight. We got a bunch of other images in here, so let me just drag those off screen really quick. Bring this guy back. And make sure that he's not covering up our screen at all, which I don't think he is. And then let's turn off a bunch of stuff that we don't need here. Whoops. What are we at? We're at 33 individual subtools here, so there's quite a few different things that we need to turn on and off. Luckily, though, we don't have, unfortunately, I should say, we don't have grouping in our subtool list, but we do have this ability to create start groups. So we don't have folders necessarily, but one thing that you can do is kind of create pseudo groups in ZBrush in your subtool list. I won't go too much into it, but essentially if you click this little arrow icon here, that creates a new start group for everything that's below that until you have a new kind of start group there. What's nice about that is that you can click on this auto collapse button and kind of have these, like I said, pseudo folders. Next version of ZBrush, we're getting folders. We've already seen some examples of that during the last ZBrush Summit, so I'm really excited about that, and I'm sure a lot of people are as well. We've been wanting folders for a very, very long time, so it'll be nice to get those. And yeah, but for now, that's really all we have. Oh, and let me refresh my chat really quick, because I was doing setting up a bunch of new commands, which I have not finished doing, but I will put those down below at some point. or I'll make a command that lists all the commands that I'm making. Because I was thinking, you know, I have not done that yet. So a few things in the face and hair. Proportionally, let's give it a second to look at the face. Let's just focus on the hair and get some nice interaction betwixt our hair and scarf. I'm actually going to turn on the shirt as well. Everything else is turned off though, just so I can kind of focus in here. So let's start with just the base hair. And this does have some subdivisions, but it's not incredibly clean. Actually, it doesn't. It just has a dynamic subdiv. It's my bad. So let's see. What do we want to happen here? Based on what I'm seeing in the concept, it looks like it kind of tucks back into the scarf a little bit. I keep saying scarf. Bandana. Doohickey. Whatchamacallit. So let's maybe just kind of play with the position here a little bit. Make it feel like it's not going through the cloth. That feels really awkward if it does that. Let's see. Maybe just pull down a little bit on this side. And I think I am actually going to pull out on this right side and actually tug in on the left, because it looks like it needs some more room for the hair to go in on that side and a little bit more room for the hair to go on the outside of the bandana over here. And I actually kind of fudged that because I did it the opposite way when I was messing with that. I wasn't really paying attention to the hair and how that interacts here. That's why it's really important in those early stages to get in a lot of the subtools, a lot of the extra parts and pieces, because they all interact together and they really help you figure out proportions and, you know, figuring out placement for something as simple as a bandana. If we want it to match the reference as best as we can, it's going to be important to have the hair in there and everything else, because all this stuff interacts. It all affects the placement, shape, proportions of every single piece of our character. And when I say proportions, you know, I'm not just talking about the body and everything. I'm talking about the scale of the scarf in relation to the shirt and really everything here. So proportions doesn't just refer to a character's physical body and the character's proportions, although it does also mean that. Alright, so a little bit of some pull out there on the one side. Let's go back to our hair. If you guys don't know, you can just alt-click on your subtools to swap between them really fast. I use that mainly more than anything else. You can also, you know, come over here and click in your actual subtools, but that's so slow. Why would I want to do that? This is actually really difficult to see what's going on here because of the dark color. So I'm just going to switch my material and go back to a white infill with the poly paint and try to get something nice. So looking at this curve, it looks like it's got a little bit of like a sweep to it. So I was thinking a little bit from this angle, you know, a little bit up, and then from this angle, maybe pulling a little bit more out and over the scarf like we're seeing there. And then we can work on raising up the scarf a little bit more. Make sure we don't mask that side. And just a little bit pull out and some pull down here. So mainly just using the move brush right now for the time being, just pushing and pulling some points around, trying to figure out this shape and how it's going to interact here, as well as on this side. I think it's got some weird stuff going on here, but if I can pull this out even a little bit more, I think that's going to help that feel a little bit better in our silhouette. And maybe we can pull in some on the scarf or bandana a little bit more, just to get that feeling even closer to what I'm seeing there. I kind of actually prefer this being down a bit further. Let's see. I don't really like that you can see his neck too much from the back, so maybe we'll do some stuff to move the scarf in, or bandana, god, I keep saying scarf. Get that a little bit tighter around the neck, so that's not seen quite as much. Let's see. Do a little bit more finagling here. And let's see. Just looking at this line right now, seeing how this is flowing up, trying to keep that clean. This geometry is kind of all over the place. I don't have any subdivs in it right now. It's all just kind of low poly. I wasn't sure if I was going to merge this together with the other stuff that I had, these pieces. If anything, I would like to do some kind of proxy merge on these, which isn't a terrible idea to do right now. So let's actually look at doing something like that. So if you guys aren't familiar with what I'm talking about when I say like proxy merge, I'm just talking about temporarily merging something down to help shape it up a little bit closer to something else that I'm seeing in our character. For instance, with this hair, whoops, I'll take all of this and just merge it together so that I can blend a little bit better between all of this geometry that we have for the front of our hair, which is kind of all over the place right now. I will actually do that now. So merge down, and then I want this to actually fit that shape a little bit better. Doesn't have to be perfect. So something like that, and then a Dynamesh, maybe around like 500 for something like this, because I don't remember what our resolution was at. And then just work on blending these areas up here. I'm thinking we might be able to do this better with some move back face masking. It looks like I'm right, just because there's kind of some gaps in here and everything else, so let's just fill this information in. And we'll do another Dynamesh in just a moment. And this is all stuff that's kind of like tucked into the head, so it's not really seen, so it doesn't really matter all too much. Jonathan, what is going on? Jonathan Sains, maybe? Welcome to the stream and thank you for the follow. Sains. Let me know, Jonathan. Did I get this one right? I feel like I always get the easy ones wrong, and I always get the super difficult ones somehow correct. Alright, a little bit more blending here. Let's grab our move brush, turn off back face masking, do another Dynamesh, and work on just blending some of these parts here, all the way down and through here. Gets pretty messy. That's okay. Take some time to fill this out. I would also like to probably square off some of the hair. So like around this edge, I would maybe like to square off this edge and try to tighten that up with like a pinch brush or something like that. I'm just going to get rid of all that excess there. Not sure why we're not Dynameshing. There we go. Alright. From here, I'm thinking more so around this area. I want this to blend quite a bit more. So I'm just going to pull in a little tight, and we'll work on blending these areas all together. Because right now, if we look at the silhouette from this angle, you know, we're getting this kind of awkward bump there. I don't want that. Let's just fill this in a little bit. Some rough and quick clay tubes brush. Maybe even some trim dynamic. Start bringing that back out. And this is all just Dynamesh together, but we can clean this up pretty easily with some remeshing techniques with just poly groups or ZRemesher guides or something like that. And we'll take a look at that here in a moment. Let's continue to blend all of this, and we're going to be working towards getting a much cleaner shape for our hair. Because right now this is all just, you know, super messy. We want to do something about this. So again, maybe playing around with squaring off some of the shapes here. Just using a trim dynamic right now. I don't know if I'll actually do this. It looks like it could maybe work for some of the shapes that I'm seeing. So we'll see. Not really feeling this edge here. Let's kind of blend that out, as well as in here. Blend all of our garbage geometry away. Alright, let's take a look. I think a little bit more blending up in this corner. And this is something that's kind of supposed to pull through here. But we're still going to be using the other geometry that we had. This stuff here. So again, this is more so just a kind of a, like I said, proxy blend of some of this information. But from here, let's maybe play with how could we get this edge to be a bit more flat? There's definitely a few ways here. I want to see kind of what this resolution looks like really quick after we cut some stuff up. So let's see. Polygroup that. For those that can't see, I'll turn off the line. I'm just trying to create a piece of, or two poly groups that flow between these two kind of hard edges, this section here with this hard line separating it. And this will help the geometry kind of flow between there. We'll see how well this actually does. I more so want these to line up a little bit more. I think, here, I'll just do this. Kind of want these to connect up. Redo this slice here. And I'm mainly just doing this to check out the resolution really quick, see what we can get. Turn that line back on, and we'll ZRemesh as low as I can possibly go. And just kind of see, I want to see what the resolution's looking like on this. See if it's going to be easy for me to square off some of the edges around the bottom of the hair. I'll pull up the image once this is done. I kind of want to square this off or thin it out just a ton. And then maybe at some point either sculpt in some of these separations in the hair, or possibly you know, slice up some of these pieces into some hair tubes, which is another technique that I use frequently. But that's going to be something that we wait to do until further in the process. But looking at this, I'm trying to see how much volume we're actually losing here. kind of keep this in the Dynamesh state for now. And I think the technique that we're going to end up using for this hair is kind of using this hair, this block out that we've made for this shape as a basic proxy. And then after we have our basic shape, then we can run back over that with some other brushes, like our cube tube and some other stuff, to create the individual strands of hair. So we use a cube tube brush, probably drop the Z intensity down, maybe like 20 or 30, get some more thin strokes, and use these to essentially create our different chunks of hair. But we will be waiting to do that. Let me see something real quick. Maybe even make those a bit more thin, as long as our quick save doesn't crash here. Something like that. And then we'll probably mess with our curve functions for, let's see, size. And just a little bit of taper, not too much. Maybe even do that manually. We shall play with that a little bit more later though. But now we're starting to get a lot closer to the base shape that we want, which is good. I won't have to worry too much about you know, actually cleaning up this geometry with this technique, just because we're going to be redrawing the curves out over top of it. But we are figuring out the shape now as one big mesh, as opposed to trying to do it with, you know, like 20 plus hair tubes at once, which is kind of a nightmare. So that's why it's nice to just start, you know, when sculpting anything, I always say, you know, start with the big shapes, and I mean, that definitely applies here as well with our hairs. Even though it looks a little strange right now, once we start getting those individual pieces in there, it'll start feeling a bit better. And there's also some stuff here that we can probably crease up. I'm not too sure about the edge flow of this. So let me just see what this crease is looking like. I'm actually okay with that. If I'm gonna do something like this though, I'll definitely need to get more tubes of hair up here so that this edge doesn't, you know, look quite as hard, butted up against something super smooth. So we'll play with creasing around some edges and some other stuff here as well. And I think that'll start to shape up nicely. But I do kind of like the nice hard edge that we're getting down here. So I'm liking that shape. This is probably something that needs to twist a bit more through here. So we can start thinking about cleaning up this shape now. And maybe get a few more pieces of hair in. Let's just play around with it for a little bit. And let's see. Alright, transparency, ghost mode, just so we can actually affect the geometry. You have to turn on ghost mode with transparency if you want to be able to like sculpt through an object. If you just have transparency mode on, you can only see. It's a little confusing how it works. Not a huge fan. I don't know why you wouldn't. There's never a situation in which I turn on transparency mode and I don't want to be able to sculpt through the object. Like, that's the entire, it's kind of like the entire reason for turning it on. I guess if you just want to visualize something and not sculpt on it, yeah, I don't know. I can't think of a reason why to use it without sculpting. Alright, so I'm starting to get a little bit more of that clean sweep through here. Probably thin out quite a bit through here, right? Looking pretty thick. So these pieces of geometry were pretty complex to figure out, and it was extremely frustrating just to figure out this shape in general. Like, now that you see it, it probably just seems, you know, like, you know, it's just a tube of geometry. But trying to figure out how to make this form and retain that silhouette was incredibly difficult. It was, you know, probably one of the hardest things to figure out on this character, and it's going to take a lot more work to get it to a really finished level. But, you know, that's all part of the process here, so we'll take some time to do that. And this is flowing a little bit weird through there. Just trying to match that silhouette a little bit closer to what I'm seeing. It definitely works really well from one specific angle, and we're gonna have to do some work to make it look good from the other angles, which is, you know, the whole point of being a 3D artist. So some things that work in 2D, I've been fighting this hair just to try to get to that point where we can make some things work here in 3D that feel like they kind of only work from one specific angle in 2D. And you're gonna run into situations like that a lot, whether it's with, you know, something stylized or realistic, especially if you're working with something realistic and you don't know the perspective of the camera that they're using, you can really confuse yourself very quickly. Juan Franco, sorry I didn't see your message there. How you doing, man? Welcome back. How goes your Monday? As well as everybody else, I see that there's quite a few more people in here now. Welcome, everybody. This is your first time joining us. I'm Follygon, and we are sculpting Android 17, concept by GopGap. And yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. He's got a whole body under here. I just have it hidden right now. There's a bunch of other stuff in here, but I'm specifically working in on what's going to need to get done before we can get into posing and breaking symmetry. So that's kind of the main thing that I want to get into next, just so we can get this guy out of the neutral. The quicker we do that, the quicker we'll be able to finish this. And move on to something fun, more new. Not that this isn't fun. But the quicker I'll be able to actually do stuff on this character to get it closer to what we're seeing in the reference. I feel like these creases that I've put under the eyelids are maybe a little bit much. I think I'd like to trim this out, especially looking at the side angle. I could tell from the front, but just looking at that angle, I think it's much too steep. So I'm just very gently probably going to come through here with a trim brush, trim dynamic. Eyes are extremely important. They're the most expressive part of your character's face, and they're really hard to get right. Not that our eyes don't look good right now, we just need them to look closer to what I'm seeing in our character. I'm going to fill in some of this information very carefully, very gently with my brush strokes here. Making sure to look at it from multiple angles and kind of erase some of that concavity that we had in there. We can still have a little bit of that, I think. I think it was just definitely Too strong. And these are things that you will pick up on as you continue sculpting on your characters. You'll think you have something where you want it, and then you'll take a little break, and then you'll come back, you know, a week later and look at something and be like, oh, what the heck, how did I miss this? I'm gonna turn off RGB on my smooth brush and on my move brush, because it's messing up my materials, which is very annoying. Monday's going slow, but good. Yes, Mondays always feel like they're the longest day of the week, in my opinion. Mondays and Fridays. What's going on, Louie? How you doing? Mondays and Fridays, the longest days. Alright. So I've started to get rid of that. I think primarily it was just from the front view, at least, it was kind of aging our character a little bit too much. Second off, it just like wasn't correct to what I was seeing in the concept. So that's more so the reason why we're making this change than anything else. But you know, try not to, like I said, eyes are tough. You gotta spend a lot of work in the eyes. It's really hard to make it's really easy to make your character look off with just like a small little tweak, small little change. I can just tug down on the lids here, and you know, that creates, you know, I wouldn't say completely different look or expression, but you know, little things like that definitely add up very quickly. So accuracy in the terms of shape and everything else is what we need to focus on here. I really want to retain this clean edge that I have through here, so I'm probably gonna have to clean that back up. Let me just go through here. I definitely think that feels much better. So a little bit of pinch brush through here. I don't want this edge, you know, super tight like this. I'm just kind of gently tugging on this area, and maybe even relaxing some of that edge a little bit. There's some pinching. Whoops, what just happened? I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's like a divot in his face, it looks like. This happened at some point. I don't know if it just happened right now, but I'm just now seeing it. That little glitch that I just had where the screen went blank, like the canvas went blank and like popped away. Normally when that happens, your brush will like make a stroke somewhere randomly on your surface and you might have to go find it. I feel like that happened earlier here on the face, and that's what I'm kind of correcting. I'm not sure when this happened, but luckily it's, you know, not a super difficult mark to fix. Sometimes you'll be like zooming around and you'll look over here and you'll be like, what the hell is this? Like, when did that happen? So whenever you see those little like pops where the screen goes blank or your model shrinks down or disappears, do a quick undo or float around for a little bit, see if you missed anything. I wanted to clean up this pinching that was happening up here in the corner, which I'm not sure I'll be able to do with the topology up there right now. But luckily it's pretty well hidden in a shadowed area, and the eyelash covers up some of that as well. Alright, so let's also reapply our material, just material only. Fill that back in. And yeah, those eyes are feeling a lot better, a lot closer to me. No reason to put information in there that I'm not seeing in the concept, and that's actually something I see pretty commonly. You'll just, be sculpting away and you'll be doing, whatever habits you've built. Oh, this goes here on the face, this goes here, but in, a stylized character, that's not always the case. Oftentimes, less is more in stylized characters. And there's definitely a lot of information that's just not defined super well here. Like if we're looking at the transition for the wings of the nose into the face, there's really like not even much of an edge here. So I've tried to flatten that out quite a bit, and I think we've done a pretty good job around here of just getting that to blend pretty nicely. There might be some stuff that we want to fix around here in the lips as it's kind of bubbling out a little bit more than maybe what we want, but we'll play with that probably once we get into the expression in the face, breaking the symmetry around the lips and all that good stuff. All right. So again, this is just kind of a proxy for the hair. We'll be inserting geometry on top of that. I just want to make sure that it's, where we want here. I think I'm pretty happy with the overall shape. There's some kind of general just waviness that I would probably get rid of once we start adding in those separate pieces of geometry. But I think for the most part, I'm pretty happy with that. And any other additional changes we want to make, we can do that in the individual hair tubes. Maybe get like a little bit more twist out here for this piece. Be a little bit more picky. This definitely feels like it's starting to wrap back around and point towards us a little bit more. Alright, cool. Let's see, what else do we need to do here with this hair and face before we can get to a point where we want to break symmetry. For this scarf, I'm wondering if I can push this back out a little bit more, just to get a little bit more room between that and the neck, bandana and the neck, not scarf. And I was kind of wanting to make that a little bit tighter back there, because it just feels kind of loose around the neck right now. It's kind of what's happening though in the concept, isn't it? Alright, I think we'll leave it for now. Let's take a look at our face for a little bit. Is there anything in here that I want to change before I would go into a sim? I feel like the chin and jaw are maybe a little bit too thick. And I'm not sure if this is the actual issue or if it's something else that's kind of just playing with my eye here. I want to experiment with it a little bit. And just do a quick little pull in. try to figure this shape out a little bit more. And I'm doing this without perspective on so that I can mask properly from my orthographic views and just make sure everything's working together. I'll even turn my ear back on. I had that ear hidden because it was poking through the hair, and I don't want to deal with that. It'll never be seen, so you guys won't even know. You know now, but other people who look at it will not know. The other option is to, you know, just move the ear and squish it back further, but I don't really think that's necessary. I kind of want to try sliding some of this up a little bit. So I'm sculpting over here, but I'm kind of looking over here a little bit. There's this hardness, this sharpness to this transitional edge that we get that's really just, you know, not present in our model and not really present on this side of the face really either. So that makes it a little tough to acquire. Really, in truth, the sides of the face are just different. You know, we got this nice, smooth, kind of a rounded shape, and we can tell that based on the way that it's lit. And then over here, we got this, you know, 1, 2 straight down for the face. Very sharp transition, and that feels very awkward. It's because it's not what we're seeing in our concept. So anything that I can do to just tighten this up, even if it's just a little bit, I want to attempt to make that happen. Because I originally said that it wasn't possible with the hair, and then I discovered a way to do it. And I said the same thing about the face, so we might as well spend a little bit of time just trying to get maybe something to make a little bit more sense there. And obviously it's very sharp right now, but it's easy to soften that form. Make sure that we're retaining this volume through here, which we're kind of losing. We're definitely closer, but it's sticking out too far right now. So I'm gonna try to just push in this part of the face a little bit. Or better yet, rotate this in a tad. Now, in truth, you know, this isn't always going to be true for stylized characters, but, you know, for realistic characters, your cheekbones are the widest part of your face. A lot of these rules apply here in stylized characters as well. A lot of that kind of follows through. That is one of them that kind of gets bent and broken pretty often. I do see it, you know, kind of similarly to what we're seeing here in this guy. It's kind of the case as well. I feel like I could pull in the sides of this guy's head as well now, just a little bit. Now that we're looking at making some of these changes here. So this is without perspective on as well, so I don't think it'll matter really all that much, but let's just get in here and try it. Maybe, you know, we won't have to hide our ear and delete it behind that hair. Instead, we can actually have the hair go over top of it. Most of the time if stuff like isn't seen, I just won't sculpt it though. Hey Becker, what's going on? Just here to say hi. Annoyed the heck out of Belial yesterday. Belial? Belial? I'm not sure who that is. After that, proceeded to annoy his friend. We'll be working today a bit for a change. Belial. I'm guessing they are a sculptor as well. I'm not familiar. I'll have to check them out. Oh, that's right. The person I hosted yesterday. Yes. I've been in a mental fog for the past few days. My brain done stopped. Alright. If I can carry this volume back down through here, I think that would kind of make me happy with these changes to the face. And I kind of want to Dynamesh this to like bake in this tight crease through here and then smooth it out. Ugh, excuse me. And possibly delete our ear. So I'm definitely seeing more of this kind of sharp hit here on the side of the face. It's not exact to what I'm seeing. This is not like pixel perfect lined up. But I think we have kind of captured the appeal of this dude. I'm just trying to get some of this to now blend a lot better overall. There's a lot here that can kind of push this more into a appealing territory. And I think I do want to Dynamesh this face, just because this edge is not going to retain. Pro Faith, thank you for the follow and welcome to the stream. How you doing? So let me do maybe like one more quick pull down. See how that's reading. And I just want to redefine this edge ever so slightly. Just because I kind of started losing that a little bit moving forward with some of these changes to the cheekbone and softening up this shape here. It's maybe a little bit too hard, but that's okay. Let me soften a few more things here and then probably Dynamesh this dude's head. Go on a nice walk or use the technique in one of the latest Proco videos. Meditation for artists, the automatic drawing technique. I feel like I've seen something similar to that. Proface says this is so awesome. Really want to learn ZBrush, but it's so hard. Yeah, there's Well, thank you, first of all, but there's definitely, you know, a really steep learning curve to the software, and then there's an even steeper learning curve to sculptural abilities. I think once you learn the software, though, that's when things start to get fun. You can mess around with a lot. There's kind of a lot more to learn after that. But once you learn the software, it feels a bit easier. Alright, so I'm going to Dynamesh this, and the reason that I am Dynameshing this face is to redistribute the polygons, essentially. So I've now redistributed the polygons. Oh, you know what? Do I need those? No, okay. I was checking to make sure I didn't need any polygroups there. And then I can come through here and soften this a lot better than I could in ZRemesher. So now I'm gonna keep this sharp edge here pretty well, so it's still transitioning in the silhouette there. But I'm also, you know, able to soften this out quite a bit here without losing too much information. So I would like to soften this to a point where it's, you know, maybe a little bit of a hit there if you're looking at it straight on, but I don't really want you to be able to tell exactly that there ever was a really super tight crease there. I want it to mainly just be visible in the silhouette. And up here, there was some stretching and garbage up there. Most of that's fine though, I think. In the face, once we do the expression, I'm just gonna bake out some of these lines. This is all pretty rough through here, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later. All right. I think that is getting there. Noticing a few other areas here. Might just be the material though. I actually can't tell. So Becker, what is this meditation for artists? Going for a walk? Just getting your head somewhere else for a little bit? Kind of what it sounds like. I'm all about that meditation lifestyle. My meditation comes in the form of sculpting. Sculpting in ZBrush. It also just happens to be my job and my hobby as well. A friend told you about Blender sculpting. What do I think about that? I've never used Blender's sculpting tools. One thing that I do know about Blender though is that it's free. ZBrush has like a 50-day trial, I want to say, 50-day free trial. So if you want to play around with ZBrush and use that, you know, it's the industry standard. It's much more powerful than Blender in terms of sculptural tools. That's why it's the industry standard. You know, if I was going to recommend one or the other, I would 100 times out of 100 recommend ZBrush over Blender. But if you want something to kind of get your feet wet and try to learn some techniques for sculpting and all that's going to be transferable to ZBrush. Your sculptural abilities and you know, knowledge, all that stuff's going to transfer over. Some of the software tools and stuff like that you'll have to relearn, but you know, it's free, so I don't know. I don't see any reason why not to try it at least. All right. Well, There we go. There's some stuff in our face. How do I feel about... How do I feel about the silhouette here? I think I'm gonna keep that chin poking out for a while. And do I have anything messed up on my ear? I don't know. Let me see what a base 5K-ish ZBrush does here. The going for a walk is not related. I see, I gotcha. It sounded like maybe that was a meditative thing that he was talking about. Blender's love, Blender's life. I thought that was Shrek. Getting so much better now with the 2.8 version. I've seen a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of people talking about it. I don't really know too much about Blender though. Letting your mind go free on a piece of paper. Much more enjoyable to experience the video than my hassled explanation. Don't know about the new sculpting. The old one wasn't that great. It's not very good at handling too many vertices. Yeah, like I said, you know, if I'm gonna recommend one or the other, it's definitely gonna be ZBrush 100% of the time. Those are some vertices that you placed there for me. ZBrush, thank you. But I think we're wanting something a little bit more specific. Becoming better than other modeling software. People do awesome stuff with Blender. It's more about the tool, but just saying it's pure... I think you mean politics there, I'm not sure. But yeah, you know, there's been industry standards for a long time for a reason. Not that Blender isn't incredibly powerful for, you know, free tool. I don't use Blender very often, so I probably can't speak too much to its abilities. But in terms of its sculpting tools, you know, if I'm going to recommend one over the other, ZBrush is the way to go. But, you know, if something better comes out, you know, I don't have any, what would you call it? I can't think of the word. I'm not, like, tied to ZBrush in any way. Like, I'm just going to use the best tool that I can. I don't really care. There's a lot of things about ZBrush that annoy me, and there's a lot of things that I really like about ZBrush. And if something comes along that's much better than ZBrush, and it does all those things that annoy me, but it doesn't do all those things that annoy me, and it does everything else that's really good, and does it better, you know, heck yeah, I'll switch over. I don't care. I am all about just using the best tool. And for this, ZBrush is the best tool. Oops. Let's just mask off some junk here. Create some more polygroups. Yes, definitely more so the person than the tool, right? Software is just a tool to get the job done. What's going on? Jean Daigode. Jean Daigode, maybe. I don't know. But thank you for the follow. Yeah, you know, I don't think there's too many people out there that think, you know, using specific software is going to make you, it's not an easy button, right? Still gotta do the thing. It's like a hammer or a paintbrush. It's just a tool. Uh-oh. That's no good. So I'm creating polygroups around our face so that I can remesh and get specific shapes. If we turn off the line, you can see some of those polygroups shaping up. I'll do a few more of these. Let's see. Let's do something around the ear, maybe, really quick. This gets really tight in here, doesn't it? Jeez, that's gonna probably have a lot of trouble projecting. I'm not gonna worry about the ear. You were using Blender originally, and you really liked it, but then you started using ZBrush, and you haven't used Blender since. Can you share an image of a head I'm working on, and if something looks weird just by looking at it, could you tell me? Absolutely, Francisco. If you want to share it, if it's the blockout head that you're working on that we looked at yesterday on stream, I believe I still have the reference somewhere. So let me know if it's still that one. Let me see where I saved that. And you can go, yeah, feel free to share an image here. So Francisco, if you guys don't know, if you're new here, we do live critiques every Saturday. We did one yesterday because we missed Saturday though. And if you guys want to get in to that, just type in !critique in chat. And there will be some instructions. I believe it's this one, right? If I'm not mistaken. Feel free, yeah, share that. We'll take a look. Yeah, sculpting and ZBrush way more powerful, but Blender's great at doing retopo and poly modeling and all that stuff. Most of those tools are, you know, I would say pretty equal in that kind of stuff. Blender can edit videos. I did not know that. That's pretty neat. Would look cool with a mask or as a mask. This guy here. Yeah, it's pretty common. Like the topology of the face ends up typically following that mask shape around the eyes that you would see for a superhero. You like looking into the roots of words and stuff like that, etymology, all that good stuff. I enjoy doing that too. Alright, and then I think for the mouth here, let's get a straight line back, down to the chin, or the corner of the jaw there, polygroup that. And I don't know if I really need any additional groups here. I don't think so. I don't really care about anything else too much. So, let me turn line back on here. And we'll try a target poly count of 5K. And we will see how this does. Actually, let's try a little bit lower at first. Try around 3. Need to get to work, grab some tea and go. Heck yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot to buy tea yesterday when I went to the grocery store. I need to make a note to do that. Buy tea, Ben. Go buy some tea. I need some more chai. I'm almost out. I have like 1 or 2 more bags. I need some more chai and some more green tea. Alright, let's see. Whoops. Here, 1 second, Francisco. We got some explosions around the nose, so that's no good. Don't want that. Another thing I'm going to do, just to make ZBrush give us more resolution here in our eyes. I'm gonna create another poly loop here. Something like that, that's fine. And then let's just try one more time here, increase the res. And take a look at Francisco's image. Alright, so this is a head that Francisco's been working on. Let's see. And here is our reference. So we looked at this yesterday. You've only provided the front view here. But just by kind of looking at this only from the front view, immediately a few things that stick out to me. The corners of your jaws are still not out far enough. Here, you know what? Let's do this. And then you can do this in the future to help you out. So there are a few things here that I'm noticing, but just to make them really obvious for you, so you can see what's going on here as well. We'll turn on transparency, grab your head, line them up here, fit to about the scale of the head here. Basically just kind of line up, I'm just lining up that left edge, just so we can see. And then I think I will also, here, just so I can see this a little bit better, I'm going to make your face red. Just do multiply, sure. Stop. Stop, ZBrush. ZBrush is being dumb. Or Photoshop's being dumb. There we go. Alright. So bring down this opacity. Oh, turn our image back on. And let's just look at your guy versus what we're seeing here. Very quickly. Alright, so we're looking at the left edge here. Don't worry about the right edge too much. There's some perspective and other stuff going on in the image. First thing I noticed was that your jaw still needs to come out quite a bit more. Here's your jaw line, and here's what we're seeing in the reference. Square off your chin, bring your nose up quite a bit, widen your nose. Here's your nose, here's theirs. Also, I'm noticing in your image you kind of want to probably follow this line a little bit more closely. If we bring yours back up, you know, your cheekbone and stuff isn't kind of following the exact same direction that we got going on there, so you probably want to bring, you got your line going this way, try to bring yours up more, get more of the same flow that they got going on there. Let's see. And then up in the head, obviously just some stuff with the general shape. You've done a good job kind of squaring off your head a little bit here, but kind of playing with some of these additional angles. You want to do that. And then I think just kind of general notes here, some stuff that I would do. Also, I noticed that this angle needs to change and be a little bit more sharp. The angle that you have compared to what I see in the concept. See how theirs is quite a bit more angled than yours? Yours is kind of flowing up and around. I would square off your head even a bit more, actually. Yours is quite a bit more fat on the sides. But yeah, those few things. Probably some stuff with the neck here as well, straightening that out. Position of the mouth. Probably bring that up a bit more, closer to where their line is, even higher than what I just drew. So here, just so you can see where that is positionally versus your mouth. And I don't have a profile view, so I can't tell you more about that. But yeah, there's a few things for you to work on. I think that'll get you to a good place. Let's see how our remesh did. Holy moly. Those eyes are atrocious. This is not the planar head. Either way, there's a lot of things in here that aren't anatomically accurate and don't look very good. So I would still make the changes that I suggested. Maybe not to go for this exact look, but you definitely have, way too much tapering going on in the jawline. You definitely want to square off this chin. You definitely want to move up your mouth and get that more accurate. The shape of your brow doesn't look super great, not very appealing. Head is too round. Too round up here, square that off. Position and size of the eyes I think are fine. There's a lot of stuff that you could do here to actually make this, I think, a little bit more accurate to what we would see in a human eye. Same notes on the nose. The nose doesn't look super appealing. It doesn't really look too much like anybody's nose either. I would say for this bottom plane here, try to like push that up a little bit and get this to be a little bit more flat through here. It's much too rounded. I can kind of just tell that looking at the front. And then all the other notes that I gave. Even if it's not, this head that you're going for, I think those few things will start getting you headed in a good direction. All right. So we're getting a Nike's ton of terrible stuff going on here around the eyes. So that's a lot of fun. Instead of dealing with this on stream, I think I'm just going to go back to sculpting on the hand for a while so that we can actually do something a little bit more interesting. And we can maybe look at that more later. I will probably do that off of stream though, just because that's something that I'll probably have to finagle with for quite a while to get that to a good place. Let's grab our hand. One of our hands. I don't really need this reference too much right now, I don't think. It's more of just kind of some cleanup and some other stuff that needs to happen between these. Actually, let's look at making this pose on this hand a little bit. So really quick, what I'm going to do is open Photoshop back up. And just grab this hand. Fun little thing you can do up here is layer. Where is it? It's actually been a while. Image, trim, transparent pixels. Okay, there we go. I got this hand, and I'll save this out as a quick JPEG. JPEGio. Just so I can import this into ZBrush really quick. And texture import. Huh. Awesome. Hip hop, what's going on? Welcome back. Alright. let's get in here on our hand. One of our hands. Slipgate Central, welcome, and thank you for the follow. And I will say, you know, Francisco, I'm not trying to be rough on you with your sculpt or anything like that. I feel like I have to mention this from time to time, but I'm not gonna lie to people. You know, if something doesn't look good and needs some work, I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you up front. You know, I want you guys to improve and I want you guys to get better. And sometimes with that, that means I gotta show you what's wrong. Gotta be a little harsh. And I'm not doing it to be mean. I'm doing it to help you out. So hopefully some of those notes will help you push that head a little bit further in the right direction. Whoa, that was very weird. Acted like it had perspective on for a moment. Alright, so let's work on this rough pose with these fingers. Our pinky and ring, kind of doing the same thing here. And then index, middle finger are kind of doing the same thing as well. So fun thing about hands, an awesome note for you guys to keep in mind while you're sculpting hands or even drawing hands and trying to create something that looks nice. Hands that have grouped fingers look more appealing than ones that have all sorts of, you know, crazy different poses going on. So you'll often see this be the case for something like this. Instead of having, you know, 4 different fingers here, we essentially just have two sections here. It's kind of just this one section here, and we can block that onto one basic shape, and then we got this other section here. And you'll see this all the time in a bunch of stylized characters. With this guy's other hand, if we undo here, he has the same thing going on, but even more simplified. It's just this, you know, singular blocky shape. One big kind of, I guess, trapezoid or something. But you'll see this very frequently. I don't think her hands aren't very visible. They're kind of just doing the same thing. This is just a pretty simple, you know, pretty simple square here. Whoops. Nothing too crazy over there. But I see this all the time, and it's something that I wanted to point out for you guys. If you're trying to sculpt something from your imagination or draw something from your imagination, often grouping shapes in fingers can be to your benefit. If you want to really simplify this, you know, it's just a few curves here. But we will try to capture that in our sculpt by grouping these fingers together. Not sure what happened to this guy here. This index finger. Something. This poor soul. I'm also going to have to make some changes to the base hand for the thumb. I don't think I have subdivs on this. I do. I can reconstruct those. And looks like maybe just rotate the thumb up a little, from what I can tell. Kind of difficult to see what's going on here. We'll try that out first. Don't give the finger. Oh no, now I have to do it. We'll do it real quick, you know. It's kind of like a lazy middle finger. It's like, oh, you know, too lazy to close all the other ones. You know, F you, but like barely. Just a little. Alright. This guy needs to rotate up. And whoops. This guy needs to, oh my gosh, dang it. This guy needs to twist a little bit more. And actually, this thumb's going to bend back the other way. So that'll be fun to break this. Break some geo real quick. I'm gonna start doing that quickly. Oftentimes it's, you know, best to just say screw it and break some geometry on a quick little pose and then start pushing it the other way. But yes, we're starting to get into the asim on our hands, so that's good. We'll do the same thing on the rest of our character, hopefully here soon. Oh man. Looks like even more of a bend at the root of the thumb is what I'm thinking. And engine, what's going on? Detective engine. Where do you get the Detective Pikachu emote? Is that just like, does everybody have that? Do I have the Detective Pikachu emote now? I want that. Alright, let's see. I feel like even, what's he doing here? See if I can make this pose with my own hand. I can't. He's doing a really weird pose with his other hand too that I can't do. This guy is full of awkward hand poses. This one I want to make a little bit more accurate though, because the other one's kind of just like a half fist. It's kind of weird. This one I feel like it's interacting with all the other fingers. He's kind of like doing a, maybe a snap. He's doing a Thanos. Dragon Ball Z Thanos edition. I'm not sure. Definitely some stretching going on through here that's going to need to be cleaned up. Shouldn't be that big of an issue. We'll continue to mess with that. Let's go back to our fingers for a little bit. It's from Lena. Lena Laser has the Detective Pikachu emote. Nice. Has Elena been sculpting anything cool recently? I have not checked out her stuff in a while. I know her and John have been dipping more and more into video games on their streams. Tisk, tisk, tisk. No, I think that's cool. Oh, you know what? Pretty much, there's pretty much no bend at the second digit. This is also something that's very common in fingers. Here, can I solo this carefully? So this is something you'll see pretty frequently. Here. Grouping is one of those things, and then just seeing, you know, a simplified curve for your finger or fingers very often. So I'm going to set up my polygroups to reflect that. And I'm probably going to do some really rough and ugly bends here. Let's just get that pointed in the right direction. Pretty much snapping this poor soul's finger in half. It's okay. We'll fix your poor little broken fingers later. Alright, I'll do this guy as well. Screech. Alright. So what's going on over here? Gonna break this dude's wrist really quick. So when I'm doing posing or anything like that, typically I'll start by doing a quick move, quick large scale move like what I just did, and then go back and resculpt a lot of this stuff. You kind of have to get in the mindset that when you get into posing, stuff is going to break. It is unavoidable, like it's going to happen once you're, you know, sculpturally posing in here, whether you're using just, you know, whatever you're using, even if you're using transpose master where it knocks everything down to the lowest stub div, it's gonna happen, and just kind of accept that, and the quicker you do it, the quicker you can fix stuff and get to the next stage of your character. Especially if you're, you know, posing a human, form, muscles, everything, that stuff moves around and shifts and increases and decreases in volume depending on what kind of pose it's in. So it's important that, you know, you sculpt the shoulder one way, maybe in the neutral, but if you know that both arms for your character, whoops, sorry, I bumped my mic, are gonna be up in the air, I would probably just sculpt the character's arms up in the air so that I don't have to sculpt it twice, or at least sculpt it once and then go back and fix everything. That seems like a huge waste of time. For this guy, for Android 17, he was, you know, he's pretty much in a neutral pose. The only thing that I maybe could have sculpted, you know, initially differently was the arm over here. That's like the only big move in this entire character. We have a maybe, I don't know, 120 degree bend in one elbow or so, maybe around there. That's about it. But I mean, I'm just going to take this arm and probably bend it really quick and then sculpt it back into that pose. The rest of this, pretty much neutral, you know, not too much of a change. Rodrigo Pixel, welcome to the stream, and thank you for the follow. How are you doing, Rodrigo? With a name like Rodrigo Pixel, I imagine doing something artistic. Doing something with some pixels, maybe some pixel art. That'd be pretty cool. I feel like most people that hang out on art streams are artists themselves. I feel like that's always the case. Not always, but maybe a larger majority than you would think. Alright. So how's that feel? What are we missing here? I think we're just kind of missing a lot right around this area. Feels very awkward to me right now. It feels like it's just kind of curving up and in, whereas more so I want it to just be like 1, 2. 1, 2. So how do we do that? I think we need to just pull out a little bit here and get more of a transitional point coming down to the wrist. And then we'll blend that out after a little bit as well, but that's starting to feel a lot better to me. Rodrigo is now hosting. Oh, well, thank you, Rodrigo. Sorry, I did not notice that. Doing good. Have a great stream. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Hands are always so much work. Gosh, I just want... And there's no easy way to go about it. Just because there's so much variation that can happen here in terms of style and pose and, you know, proportions, scale, all that stuff. Like, this stuff changes like crazy. So I've never sculpted two hands that were exactly the same. If I did, you know, I'd just reuse an asset. And a lot of the times I do reuse assets for my stylized characters just so I have a jumping off point for something for the hands, because hands take so much time. Hands really are a kind of like a character unto themselves. They are so expressive and take so much time. I would say faces and hands. Except for the fact with a hand, nobody looks at your character's hands. They'll take a quick glance, it'll be a first read thing only, and then they're, you know, on to the next thing. Your character's face, though, that's like, that's what really matters. But with your hands, you put a ton of work into them, and then nobody ever even looks at them for more than a few seconds. It sucks. Yes, yes. Hands are tricky. They are a tricky, what is it? Tricky wicket? Something? I don't know. Tricky insert word here. They are tricky. Okay, so this is not feeling good to me over here, so let's get a little bit more. Just pull out. Maybe try doing this a little bit more accurate to what I'm seeing in my own hand. Since I only have a singular view to go off of, I use my own hands as references all the time. They're an awesome reference since you have them nice and close and you can just make the pose that you need really quick. Oftentimes, sculpting a left hand is a little bit easier for me, so I can sculpt and look at my hand at the same time. But if you guys want something that's pretty difficult to sculpt and you want to take your work to the next level and get some really good references, I recommend hands. I recommend if you're new that you start off sculpting something a little bit more easy, like just one finger or a nose, and take pictures of your finger, or just look at your finger while you sculpt it, or take pictures of your nose and then you know, import them on your computer and then use those as a reference. I think a nose is probably a little bit, you know, more complex than a finger, but it's going to you give you something that you can objectively look at your reference images and try to match. With a hand, you can kind of do the exact same thing. You got your hands in front of you. You can put them in any pose position. You got awesome references that you can turn around in real time. And then at the end of that entire sculpting process, you have something that you can look at objectively and say, does this look like my hand? And if the answer is no, keep going. And if the answer is yes, congratulations, you did it. You're done. You've sculpted a hand. Good job. Most of the time, the answer will be no for quite a while. Hands are not easy to sculpt. I struggle with sculpting hands. I struggle with sculpting a lot of stuff, but hands is tough. Hands is tough. All right, let's get a little bit more volume down here. Just thicken that up a little bit. Probably pull that out a little bit more. And let's see, something like that for now. Just so that feels like it's going in the right direction. You notice quickly if the hand is off and it doesn't fit with the overall body or the pose. Yes, it's very easy to notice when things don't look right in human characters, just because we're trained our whole life to recognize faces, and if something feels proportionally off in something, it will definitely be noticed immediately. If something is proportionally different, but it looks very intentional, then it won't feel off. Like with this character, minus his wrist jutting out of his sleeve there. I've started to get this more in this pose now. I was looking at it upside down, actually, to sculpt it. But with this character, he doesn't feel like he's proportionally weird, even though his legs are a mile long. His legs proportionally compared to his torso are pretty long, and his waist is pretty tall, or he's just got his high-waisted jeans on or something. Maybe his belly button should actually be like about right there if we're looking at the elbow. A good way to find your belly button is to take your elbow, the arc of your elbow, swing it down. You can even, take a look at your own belly button. Bend your arm and see if your elbow comes in line with your belly button. It should about be around that area. It should be pretty close. That's just one of those proportional tricks. But his legs feel really long. They look really long. But it doesn't feel, incredibly awkward. This is obviously a gangly character, and the fact that he is, more cartoonish doesn't take away from that fact. Alright, let's go back to our fingies next. These dang fingies that have completely just exploded. Alright. How do we want to do this? Let's take some of these and start just positioning these with the knuckles a little bit more closely. I'm just control clicking and dragging with my transpose line. I think some of the fingers are maybe a little bit too long as well. I think most of these joints are just too long. I think I want to make these shorter in general, and then maybe move the thumb up a little bit more here. I don't know if you guys are seeing the same thing. I think this needs to slide up a little further here. That feels a bit closer. I'll have to mess with that more as we continue here with the fingers. But that's feeling a little bit better. Let me continue to align some of this stuff even more so. I feel like just in terms of the shape of the hand, let's get a little bit more bend through here. Your hand is incredibly flexible. You have joints flowing, your bones, if you look at some skeletons of some hands. From here to here, you actually have a pretty good motion, range of motion for your last digit of your hand, and that kind of adds to the curve of your knuckles. So you can flatten your knuckles out, or you can get quite a bit of curve in there. So that's what I'm going to attempt to accomplish here, and just get a little bit more of some of that curve that I'm noticing. So I'm just going to take my transpose rotate and add a little bit more curve there. And start to adjust some of this shape here. And of course we'll have to adjust the length of our fingers. Let's just start with the base. Start with the root, right? Oh no. Sounds like the dogs are fighting outside. I'm surrounded on all sides by doggos. Crazy doggos, actually, I should say. They like to bark a lot. But what dog doesn't like to bark? Alright, so we're starting to make this hand feel a little bit tighter. I think that's good. I am liking the direction. We definitely want to make some of these fingers quite a bit shorter. Probably do some stuff to group these fingers together. Probably what I'll end up doing is sculpting one of each of these fingers and then duplicating it across and making some proportional changes. So I think that's what I'm going to do here. So let's duplicate this and just work on, come on, just work on this finger. And then we'll work on fixing this nastiness. And get this feeling better. A hot dog or hot god. Cool shapes, looks well balanced. Well, thank you. Yeah, we're getting there. It's starting to shape up, just takes some time, but I'm liking the direction, so that's good. This feels like a crypt keeper finger, like meh. A witch's finger. I'm gonna delete some of these sub-divs. I think I'll just keep this geometry. Try to shape this up a little bit better. Let's draw a crease through here. Try to get this a lot tighter. Feels like it's pushing forward too much now. And then do some work to get rid of those super hard edges. Just trying to round out some of this. This edge right here is pretty tight. Getting there. This joint up here, I'm actually just going to pretty much erase it completely. I'm gonna simplify the shape of our hand into what we see here, which is just a 1-2 kind of deal. Or simplify our fingers to just have pretty much 2 joints. Like I said, this is very common in these types of characters. I see it all the time. And probably just flatten this out. I think this curve is getting a little too wriggly. So maybe flatten some of that out. If anything, get like a nice C curve going through here. The S curve is a little overdone though. And then for these, I am going to just work on the middle finger. Nice, there we go. Now we got the middle finger alone. And you know what? I might even copy this finger for that. So here, let's undo really quick. We'll see. What do we think here, guys? I think the pinky is too long. I think it's too long in both joints. So let's bring that down. And then let's make this segment let's see. Drag that in. That feels better. I think this could be either a little bit wider or just thicker. I think that feels much better. And any other changes we want to make before we duplicate this, we should do now so we don't create more work for ourselves. The tops of his fingers are pretty flat from what I'm seeing. We can do some stuff just to kind of unify this and make this feel a bit more even on both sides. I don't have symmetry right now because we're at such a weird angle and in a weird space on our character. So I can't really use local symmetry right now. It'd be nice if you could draw your own symmetry plane. You know, just kind of draw one in really quick and then mirror across that. It's a feature that's in a lot of other softwares. But that's okay, I don't really need it. The asymmetry will add more character to our finger. And it's good practice, right? So I don't want it to feel like there's really even another joint here at all. I just want it to feel like it's a 1-2. 1-2, skip a few. I'm gonna make this even shorter. And then the rest of this here will be just chopped off, and that'll be blended in nice and neat. Just like that. All right, one down. Let's duplicate this. Make sure that the angle there is all right. We'll say that's fine for now. So let's duplicate this and just slide it on over for our ring finger. Let's just figure out the position first. Remember, we're grouping these, so that's really important. We want this to feel kind of like a singular shape here. Not quite, but we do want them to have the same basic kind of shape and silhouette there. If anything, let's work on. Or here, I'll do this. Just kind of use my move brush and push and pull some of these larger shapes around. And these are probably going to merge together, so I'm not too worried about these touching. Shouldn't matter too much. All right. And then for our index and middle finger, I will turn this on temporarily so I can duplicate this finger here. And break it. Here, let's turn on transparent. Whoa, what happened with the polygroups there? It's a little weird. That's perfectly fine 5 seconds ago. I guess not. I guess they're all messed up. That's weird. I have no idea how that happened. It must have happened when I deleted the geometry, because I did not change that polygroup at all. Alright, so I'm going to try to make this fit within here. So I'm just going to scale up a little bit first, rotate, move it into position. So this is what I recommend doing if you're, working on hands in general. I definitely recommend this for, more complex poses with hands, to not give yourself extra work and have to sculpt multiple fingers. Especially if you're just doing something in the neutral pose, like a neutral relaxed pose for a hand. It's really easy to just make one finger and then duplicate it across and then merge them back into the hand. I find it to be much easier. It's a lot more work to, sit here and make yourself have to re-sculpt a bunch of things. It's no fun. Nobody wants to do that. Alright, fix our polygroups. And let's make this finger much longer here. Whoops. All right. So we're using grouping to our advantage again. Let's make sure that we're getting the proper rotation on this finger as we're curving around the knuckles there. Your fingers aren't all going to be facing, forward in the exact same plane. They typically have, like imagine if you're grabbing a ball. Look at the direction that your fingers are facing. They're all facing towards the middle of your hand. So that's something that we need to capture as well. And I think we're pretty close here. Maybe just a little bit more. Get some overlap there. Won't hurt anything. And we'll get that last index finger in there. And then we'll probably just take some time to make sure all these are feeling good together. Because I see a few things that we want to fix. Just using a really big move brush to make some proportional changes and quick fixes. And let's take a look at what we got so far. So there's definitely some angle changes that we want to get in here. Let's start by just rotating this in. And then coming out a bit. All right. Definitely feels like he's about to like snap or something. I'm not sure if that's what he was going for. A little Thanos action, but that's what it feels like to me. Let's make sure this angle is correct here. What did I just do? Got too many fingers. Like I said, hands are tough. Hands take a long time. Oh, I think I deleted the wrong finger. That's okay. We'll make this one work. This should be fine. Let's bring down the length just a bit. Scrappy, what is going on, Scrappy Doo? Welcome to the stream and thanks for the follow, yo. How's your Monday going? Alright. And I know, we probably got some more new people in here. So I'll go back to the full character and show him off here in just a little bit. We're just working specifically on the hand right now, which is a lot of fun. Hands are tough. I'll show off the full character here in just a moment. Let me do a few more things here. Some re-sculpting that I need to do here to get this closer to our other fingers now. A pleasant color scheme. Are you talking about my UI here? My UI colors? I had so many people that just kept asking for my UI. I don't know why, like, I feel like you'd want to make your own, right? So I uploaded it on my Gumroad. I don't think I've said that on my stream yet. And there's a link down below to my Gumroad if you guys want to check it out. But it is on there now. So now people can stop asking. For me, I like to use stuff that I make for my own like custom UI and stuff, so I don't know why you would want to use somebody else's. I guess if you're really familiar with it though, it doesn't really matter. I do like my UI a lot. Alright, so remember that we're trying to make this pretty much just a two-jointed finger. The knuckle end up here. We don't really need this this knuckle at all. Pretty much non-existent. See this a lot in stylized characters where it's just, you know, simplified shape. And we definitely have that going on here. You know, these fingers feel a lot more, a lot flatter than what I have. They feel, especially that one. I don't know if it's just the way it's drawn, but it feels really, really thin. I think I'm just gonna do a little bit of that, a little bit of thinning to these fingers. I prefer me some thick fingers, but if that's what we got going on, I'm totally cool with that. The heck? Come on. It's not wanting to change subtools. Alright. Couple more tweaks here and then we'll go back to the full character. So kind of a little bit more wide, a little bit more fat, a little bit more thin. I will leave that for now, and let's take a look at our full character here for those that are new. This is Android 17. I've started to do some posing down here on this hand, so it's a little wonky, a little messed up. Oh, I also, do I have the remeshed face here? I do not. Okay, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But yeah, so today, so far, since we've started our stream, I'll zoom in here a little bit on the face. We made some proportional changes up here. I can try to find, here, I'll just grab the image here. Here's the original concept. So we are looking to get to a point where we can start going into posing. Concept by GopGap. Zoom out a little bit so you can see kind of the full character here. But yeah, we're specifically working on our hands and specifically working on his right hand right now, trying to get closer to this pose. And then I'll start making proportional changes and rotating this elbow, all that good stuff after we get this hand a little bit closer. Alright, let's get back on hand here. Hide everything except for that, and our few fingers. Gonna need that. It's freaking out. Gonna need that last index finger here. It's a little annoying there. Let's try planing this out, getting rid of this awkward volume here. I feel like I'm gonna have to do a lot of these changes to, you know what, I might not have to do this to the other hand so much, because I feel like this happened more so when I started rotating this wrist. Added a bunch of volume in here as I shifted this edge and squashed all this, so let's just kind of plane this out a little bit. Want that to be nice and clean. Right now it's kind of all over the place. Hey, Ariel. What's up? I didn't know you were here. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate it so much. I believe that, I don't know if it said, and let's see if it did say, 2, maybe 3 months in a row. Oh no. Got a hole in the pants. 3 months. It says Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Very nice. Well, thank you. Thank you for the 3 months in a row, Ariel. That's every month that I have been streaming now, every day. It doesn't really feel like 3 months, though. That went by really quick. Man, that's crazy, actually, to think about. 3 whole daggum months. Well, Merry Christmas to you too, and everybody else that's hanging out on stream. That's right, you got the Follygon now. Now you can use that emote whenever you want. Oh wow, aren't you ecstatic? Ecstatic. Is that how you say that word? Doesn't matter. Alright, this is now feeling quite a bit better. Still feels like it's a little fat, but I don't know. Let me get this other finger in here and then I'll probably be able to figure out some of this stuff a little bit more. Just duplicate this. Sorry, Final Fox, missed your message there. It said, Final Fox said that the style surprisingly works well with the art style of DBZ. Yeah, I thought so. GopGap is just an amazing illustrator. Really, really good. Oh, and Final Fox, thank you for the follow there as well. Appreciate it. But yes, GopGap is the concept artist here. GopGap's just amazing. I mean, he does super clean, super cool work. I really like his style, so that's what we're aiming for here with this guy. I have plans for this gal as well, but that'll be something else. Let's see. Get this last finger in here. And remember, what we're attempting to do now is create essentially just 2 larger shapes. Do I still have this open in? I don't. I closed it. Essentially, we're just trying to go for these like 2 main shapes of the groupings of the fingers. There's a little bit of some difference here between these. So like one's a little bit higher than the other. Obviously this finger should not be going directly into the thumb. We don't want that. So I'll have to probably just rotate this thumb out a little bit, which is easy enough. And let's see if I can maybe just slide this out a little bit so this silhouette feels a little bit better. Here. Maybe make this thumb a tad shorter. So I have an idea for future subs of something that I want to do, and let me know if you guys like the idea. But I was thinking it would be cool to make some stylized character busts of people that sub on stream. And that's something I've been wanting to do, but I don't, in all honesty, get too many subs here on the channel, so I don't know if it's something that we can do very often, but I think it would be a lot of fun if you guys like the idea, especially those that have subbed in the past, which I appreciate greatly. I think it would be cool to work on something like that on stream. What do you guys think? What you guys think? Let's see. Let's check some angles here. Let's rotate this out a bit more, or in a bit more, sorry. And then a little bit more this way. I think quite a bit more. Something like that. Let's check proportions here. Yeah. See? Alright. Let's pull this in a bit more. Rotate a bit more. Trying to do some quicker rotations, some quicker moves. Love the idea. That'd be a lot of cool. Or a lot of cool. That would be cool. I think so. And Labassi, welcome back. How you doing? Alright, well if we end up doing it, Ariel might be first up. I'll have to get you guys to send some pics in. Probably the easiest way to do that would be like through Discord or something. Or just email, I guess. That'd probably be even easier. So you don't have to sign up for something else, right? For those that don't use Discord. Who doesn't have Discord at this point, though? I'm sure quite a few people. Alright. Let's see. I feel like there's some more volume I can get on this side. Shift this angle quite a bit. I feel like there's a lot that kind of needs to be tweaked in here. A little bit closer. Just kind of looking at my own hand here for an idea of this shape that I'm trying to get. Get in there. These take time. Sculpting just takes time. Hands take even longer. Hands take forever. I feel like I probably say that about everything, but hands and faces, they're the hardest. All right. Just gonna soften some of these sharp transitions that I have put in here. It's okay to keep like a little bit of, see how the light is like hitting really strongly there along that curve? Because I've tightened that edge. It's okay to keep that like a little tight. I don't want it, you know, super exaggerated though. Then it just feels awkward, like we haven't gotten out past the blockout stage. Plus we're not seeing a lot of that in the concept. We're definitely seeing a lot more rounded shapes. So what else feeling weird here? All right, I think it's time for a stretch break. Get up, do some gymnastics, some calisthenics, and go grab something to drink for my weary throat, and also take a bathroom break. But first, no, we'll do that. We'll do that next. All right, let me grab this full guy. This big boy here. I'm gonna stick you over here on the side of our screen. Something feels weird with our light. That's okay. Here you go, you can hang out up there for us. Good boy. And we will come back to work on our hand in just a few minutes. We're gonna do a quick bathroom break. Maybe they can make requests instead of doing the stylized characters of the people that sub. That is also a good idea. Labasi, you don't have your cold anymore? That's awesome. I didn't know you had a cold. I know that, somebody just had the flu. Now I can't remember who. I don't think it was you. You said cold, right? Yes, cold. Not the flu. The flu sucks. Cold sucks as well, just not quite as much as the flu. I get sick pretty frequently, so I understand your pain, but I'm glad you're feeling better. Alright. Restroom break time. Everybody else, get up, stretch if you've been sitting down for a long time. Get your Wiggles tape out, you know. Or just YouTube it really quick. Isn't that kid's show is called The Wiggles? I don't know if that was like an exercise show or not. I'm gonna guess not. I don't know. Because it's called The Wiggles, it sounds like maybe it's like a child's exercise routine or something. I need to stop messing with this. Alright. Be back 5 minutes. Everybody else, get up, stretch, go to the bathroom, get some water. Stretch it out. Alright. Okay, let's get back to this hand, which we have been doing a ton of work on. And I don't think the light, oh no, it just kind of depends where I am. The light is always in my face. I thought for once I maybe got lucky. Alright, let's see what we got going on here. Check up some stuff. And I think what I want to do next is just start rotating this hand and arm and getting these into position. So I'm going to split off my arms into two separate subtools. And let's see here. We'll grab this image and then click on tile selected. So that's the big guy. Move the rest of those images off screen. All right. So we are going to start posing this arm up. But before we do that, let's select one of these. Split. And then we can reconstruct, blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. And then we're gonna go into Transpose Master and start breaking this arm. I'm gonna delete that lowest subdivision level. I'm gonna delete that on both of these. This gets too low for my liking. We can still reconstruct it if we need it, but I doubt that we will. I'm probably going to chop this arm up. You know what? Let's not. Here, let's do this. I'm just going to split this arm up into separate subtools now. And then close holes, yes. And up here. Crap, that's not what I wanted. Trying to do this quick so that we can get into actually posing this arm. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into Transpose Master. The material's messed up on the face, that's okay. We won't worry about that right now. That'll take 2 seconds to fix. So let's go into T-Pose or Transpose Master. It's up here, yep, under Z plugin, Transpose Master, T-Pose Mesh. It'll take all of our subtools, combine them all into one mesh, which I probably should have hidden one of the faces to do this, but it shouldn't be that big of an issue. And then from there, we're just going to bend our forearm and our hand at the elbow here, rotate it up. And one thing that's happening over here that's pretty crazy is where this elbow is versus the one on his right side. And you can tell there's definitely like some perspective and angle going on with his body from shoulder to shoulder. He's like leaning back away from the camera. And then it's kind of, you know, left shoulder's up a little bit higher. So you would expect this arm to be a bit lower. So I'm not going to try to line up this elbow with the waist. Like if we look where that point of the elbow is coming in line with the waist there, I'm not going to try to line that up perfectly right now. Once we get more into posing, we'll worry about that. I just want to make sure that I'm not, you know, going too far with some of this stuff. All right, so let's grab all of that, grab our transpose line, and we'll just rotate from here. I just want to get the angle first. And this shape is going to change drastically, so I'm not too worried about, you know, lining up things here too crazy. Just want to make sure right now that the wrist is coming in line with about where that shoulder is going to be. Let's go even a little bit lower maybe. There's also just some general shape differences here that we're going to have to take care of. Let's do this one step at a time. You gotta break stuff before we can, you know, fix it up. So this is the biggest move in the entire character, is just the one elbow, one arm move. The rest of the guy is pretty close to neutral, and it's gonna be pretty slight rotations and movements in most of this stuff. But it will take time to, you know, accurately match maybe some of the stuff in the legs. The legs are kind of all over the place. I've done some work to make them more solid. They feel a lot more noodly here, kind of crazy. So I'm not sure if we'll do that or not. I don't know how close we'll exactly get there, but this is a start, headed in the right direction. So next we'll be messing with the shape of the arm, the forearm, or just the sleeve technically. We'll be working on that, make that a little bit more accurate to what I'm seeing in the concept. After our transpose is done, I unfortunately, I had two heads in there. I had one duplicated from earlier. Playing around with some Z remeshing. I'm gonna have to figure that out, I think, off of stream, and just because calculations for all that stuff takes forever, and I don't want to make you guys sit here and watch me click Z remesh like 20 times in a row, trying to get things to line up. I wonder if I can actually cancel this at this point. I can. Okay, cool. So because I only moved the arm, it's actually a nice little trick. So what you could do is, if you want to go into Transpose Master with all of your subtools, you could just move them to the top of the list. Really quick, let me make sure I can delete this head. I can, okay. So you could just move them all to the top of your list of the things that you wanted to move, if I was just going to be, you know, moving the arm or something like that. And then after it's done calculating those, I'll just click cancel, since the rest of this doesn't matter. I just wanted everything in there on the transpose model so that I could, you know, reference all this other information. We can delete him. And there's going to be a lot of work that we need to do on this forearm. Alright, so let's see what kind of form changes we got going on here. Let's do a Z remesh. Keep groups is already set on. I'm just going to increase the poly count here to maybe like 0.3. And I don't even think I'm going to project any of this information back, so we'll just kind of keep whatever we get here. Might need to be a little bit of a different resolution, but we shall see. This is the kind of stuff that I don't want you guys to sit here and watch, because it's kind of boring just watching a loading bar, right, as we test out different topology. That's mainly what the face is right now, so I don't want to torture you guys with that. So like I said, I'll do that off of stream, but let's work on shaping up our sleeve a little bit more here. Delete a couple edge loops. simplify some shape. Just makes this a lot easier to manipulate if there are less polygons. That's fine. I will do that though. So if you make a selection in ZBrush, this is a cool thing that I don't show off very often, but you can use Control-Shift-X and Control-Shift-S to grow or shrink your selection. So if you make a selection, you can start pressing Control-Shift-X and S to grow or shrink that selection. It's pretty cool. It's very handy, especially if you're trying to do something with a specific edge loop. Alright, so let's change our angle here. And it looks like we need to be a lot tighter to the skin. ZRemesher can only do so well on a lot of this stuff, so obviously I need to do a little bit of manual cleanup just around this edge really quick. And this needs to be quite a bit more thin up by the wrist, or the wrist needs to be quite a bit more thick. I think it's more so the sleeve. I'm going to delete even more edge loops, because really we don't need them. It's retaining the shape just fine without them. All those extra edge loops. We're going to need like this really sharp point down here for this elbow as well, which I'm going to have to figure out how we connect that up. That'll be a little tough. It'll be okay. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying when you're getting into posing, stuff is gonna break, you're gonna have to resculpt stuff. It's just gonna be, you know, different shapes and different poses. So this is a pretty good example here of that happening. Just with your forearm alone, if you look at your own forearm and twist your wrist around a few times, the shape of your forearm changes just based on the pronation or supination or supination of your hand. And that's because your bones, your dang old bones, your radius and ulna, kind of like twist over top of each other. Ends up squishing and moving all sorts of things around in there. Forearm is a very complicated area in general. One of the more complicated areas, I think, anatomically in the body. It's because of the way the bones interact there. It's pretty crazy. The shoulder girdle is also extremely complicated. It's kind of an annoying area. The forearms. The forearm shape here is, I think, relatively simple. We'll just need some work to get a little bit closer. I'm gonna make that guy go away. So I can see this pretty nice straight into a curve sweeping through here, so we'll try to get that in. On the outside, it's kind of the opposite here, curving out instead of in until we hit that sharp elbow point, which we're gonna have to figure out the proportions down here. But these arms are, you know, they're kind of just different shapes. But I'm glad that we started with the same base. I wouldn't want to sculpt all this from scratch again. That would be terrible. Am I okay with the position of the hand right now? I think not. I think we're gonna make that a lot shorter. Let's see. Let's go back into T-pose, just because I don't really want to merge all my fingers and hand together right now. It's kind of annoying to do that. Alright. This arm is also angled back a little bit based on what I'm seeing. So I think the angle of a lot of this is going to rotate here, which I'll try to do maybe a little bit of real quick. Oh my god, ZBrush. I mean, I guess we could get a little bit into posing right now. I don't particularly want to do that right this second with the rest of this stuff, but you can at least think about it. This is being super laggy. This arm's angle is also going to, I think, be pointed down quite a bit. And I'm not going to mess with the pants or anything right now just because these are high res, just Dynamesh pieces. So it's not super lucrative to try to, you know, make any kinds of bends down here right now. Just because that kind of stuff is going to happen, and that's not going to be, that's not nice. We don't like that. We want something low res that we can modify easily. let's see. I want to bring this in like quite a bit more. I don't know how tight I can get this before it starts to feel like I'm forcing it. A little bit more rotation. I don't want this like butting up against the shirt crazy tight. I don't know. It's gonna be a tough interaction to figure out. Like 7 million polys in this single transpose, so it's being a little bit tough to work with. It'll be easier once I remesh like the face and the pants, which I should do. We're gonna make this much shorter. Just feeling way too long right now. It's definitely starting to feel better. Positionally, this hand, trying to figure out if I want to rotate this a little bit more out. If I'm doing like a pull-up snap, those fingers are kind of pointing back at my face. So looking at that line there, maybe a little bit more rotation. Oh, you know what? No, maybe not. Look at this from the correct angle. Do I have time for me to ask you, or wait, I think I butchered that. Do we have time for me to ask your opinion on something? Absolutely. Absolutely. What you got? Ask away. I'm gonna let this transpose go all the way through just to make sure I don't miss anything that I changed here in the shirt or in the arms. Give that a minute to calculate. There's a bunch of stuff that I want to change in here, but this stream has been heavily arm focused. It was a little bit hair in the beginning because these are some of the things that I need to do before I can go breaking the symmetry of the pose here, more so than what we have now. So we'll take care of those things first and then we'll get into it. And I know we're missing a chunk of our arm. We'll get that in there too. Let's see. Let's just remesh this really quick. Opinion on a head. Is it the same head from earlier? I need to wipe off my Cintiq. It's been a couple days, getting all dirty. Yes, it is the same head from earlier. Send it my way. Let's see what we got. Shoot us an image. And let me know what the problem is. What's going on? You couldn't have done too much. So, Francisco, who is a frequenter of the stream, has sent us a head to look at over the weekend. We do critique streams here on Saturdays. We looked at this one yesterday and did a sculpt over of a bunch of stuff here on a head that he was working on. What time is it? Here. In 4 minutes, the video will be posted. Or I can just very quickly... Let me do something real quick here, Francisco. A few things from the same... Shush. Okay. So, just for those that have not yet seen... This was a different head, though, if I remember correctly. Good job, YouTube. Doing great. Okay, so this was the head that we originally looked at. He was working on trying to get a little bit closer to what we're seeing up here. So a lot of my feedback was just about widening out the jaw and squaring off some parts of the head, and I think we came back to it a little bit later. I don't really see it, though. Maybe we didn't. I don't remember. Alright. So a lot of that feedback was just about very quickly squaring off the jaw, squaring off the head, you know, filling in a lot of this form and paying attention to the silhouette so that we could get closer to what we were seeing here. So now let's look at this one after Francisco has made some changes. Looks like it's kind of going off screen a little bit there. But I'm going to copy this image and just drop it into Photoshop really quick since we don't have the sculpt here, and look at a few things. So it looks like you've done a good job, Francisco, of listening to a few of the points that I made for feedback on the last head. So some of that involved, you know, changing the angle of the brow. I think you've got that pretty well. You didn't send me a profile image last time, so I'm just going to do a quick little paint over here and, you know, go from there in terms of some of the things that you want to change. So let's just start here. Chin feels really awkward. I would take this line, carry it down, and wrap it up a little bit, and then just kind of square off this jaw here. Square off that chin a bit more, you know, even maybe get some of like an angle here. You can play with it a little bit more. Nose shape, nose angle is no. We don't want this angle here. We also don't want the... There's a lot of stuff going on here in this nose that we want to fix. It'd be a lot easier to do this sculpturally. Take your angle of your nose. Get something a little bit more close to that right there. Let's see. Here. What I try to do in my noses, I don't know what you're using as a reference. I would hope that you're using reference in general. I don't know if you are. You haven't shared a reference with this. So, in a very quick, you know, basic few clicks, these are the major hits that I want to see in the profile. A little bit around the bridge of the nose and then looping around here. This is obviously exaggerated a little bit in this crevice. I would try to get this nose angle flattened out a bit more. It's just pointing out way too much. I would try to aim for something like a little bit in between here. Something like that angle there. Head. Too much volume. Cut it back. Jaw. Pull this jaw out. You're still like really pulling in these jaw lines. Sculpt with perspective on. I don't know if you are, but it looks like this is an orthographic view. Neck angle is pointing out way too far. You want to essentially kind of see a relative kind of straight line coming down from here if it's a masculine head. If it's a feminine head, I want to see that neck kind of follow in a little bit, following the line of the jaw, which your line of the jaw is way too angled. You want to square that off quite a bit more. This will make more sense once you plane out that chin a little bit more, square that off. So really straighten this neck up. Really straighten that neck up. Shape of the ear, kind of all over the place. Look at some references for some ears. Try to really kind of get rid of this hit here. I'm not sure what that hit is. This like kind of curving in here for this heart shape. Get rid of that. Also move the top of your ears down. Your ears are pretty tall, pretty big. So scale this edge down quite a bit. Let's see. Forehead, way too out of shape. Definitely pay attention to that profile there. Maybe even scoot your chin back in that way. That was a terrible arrow, wasn't it? This is why I sculpt, guys. Push that chin back in, really exaggerate this kind of shape here that we want to get, that kind of pizza wedge of the face. Pac-Man, right? So really kind of plane this out, and then maybe around the brow a little bit, you can pull out this form up to here. For this though, I don't want to see this roundness. That's a no bueno. Angle back here, kind of wonky. I would look at some more reference, probably bring that down a bit more and try to straighten out that neck. Jawline, all this right here is kind of crazy. I would maybe even, you know, chop off your ear and really try to clean this area up and get a nice angle for the jaw. If you see how your ear is angled back here, your ear should follow the line of your jaw as well. Your ear should be angled not straight up and down, not this way like what you have, but it should be more angled back, following the line of your jaw. Following this line here, like that. There's a lot of other stuff, but I think that will get you started heading in the right direction. Let me know what you end up doing with it. We'll take another look after you do some more work. I think that'll get you far. And take your time with it. You know, you sent me, I think, an image here at the beginning of the stream. You got, you know, I always say that it's not a race, so take your time with it, you know. Got no place to go quick, and the longer you spend on it, the better it'll be. Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Sound like Chick-fil-A. Yeah. Let's say slow it down a little bit, and take your time with it. Sculpting is it's a slow process. Man, that elbow is sharp as a dagger. So I would say for that last head, Francisco, I saw kind of like a lot of the same mistakes from the previous one. Stuff that maybe just like didn't, I think, give enough work to. And I know it's tough to see some of those things when you're sitting there sculpting on it for a while. So if you're having trouble seeing that stuff, one thing that I recommend doing is taking a screenshot of it, flipping your canvas in like Photoshop or something. I know that it's a symmetrical head, but On stuff that's maybe a little bit more asymmetrical, I find that to be very helpful. Another technique that I do often is to just get away from your model. Just leave it, maybe work on something else, sculpt something else, or just take a break, step outside for like, 15 minutes, come back, go on lunch, come back in a little while and try to figure out where some of those mistakes are. I think a lot of that will stick out to you a lot more if you try doing that. And reference. From what I was seeing, it definitely didn't look like you were, paying close enough attention to a lot of the major shapes in your reference. And I think if you do that, I think you'll be in a good place. It's tough stuff though. Not easy. And when I say it's a slow process, I would maybe take one of those heads that you're doing and work on one for, at least 10 hours. Even if it's something that's just plainer. Really try to get those shapes down. Really spend some time on it. Not a race. I would much rather see some nice clean shapes that you... What's going on here? Stupid pen keeps breaking. I'd rather see some nice clean shapes that you, spend quite a bit of time on rather than, I'd rather see one really good head instead of, 5 mediocre heads. And that is also the same for clients as well. Everybody sees the end result and not the work that goes into it, so. Take your time. Slow your roll. Man, okay, this elbow, really coming down to a sharp point. Probably even sharper than what I'm doing here. Probably don't want to push that too much more though. Not yet. Kind of getting a little bit too much here. It's feeling really fat. It's just this really sharp bend though. What can I do here? I'm gonna try squashing this arm down. Just playing with some of the shapes here. Try to make this feel a little bit more like it's interacting with this shape. Alright. I think I maybe rotated this back a little bit too much. And probably need to do some stuff to thicken up the back of this arm now to make up for the squashing that I did on the other side. This is a toughie. Trying to figure out this angle here. I think I'm going to rotate this entire arm forward. Just using my transpose line as a little bit of a guide here for where this arm should be. If anything, maybe a bit more rotation here. Trying to concentrate a little bit, trying to figure this out. Some of this stuff is a little tedious, I know, but it's stuff that has to be done. It's not just about, you know, making the parts and pieces and getting the character. The reason why I obsess over this stuff is because it's really necessary if we want it to be accurate to the concept and really take it to feel like it is this concept translated to 3D. Have to really focus on these things in the silhouette, think about how these things are going to look as we rotate around in 3D. That's why I always say it's not a race, because it takes a long time. You got to put in a lot of hours for this kind of stuff. And I'm a little bit slower while I stream because I try to talk and explain some of the processes. Maybe in the future I'll do some streams where no talking, no camera, just kind of sculpt away and get as much done as I can as quick as I can. Might be a good idea. can work on the shape of this forearm a little bit more and try to get that sweep that I'm seeing come in there. And that extra little volume bulging out on the side there. Alright, I think that's going to be a good place for us to stop for today. And we will pick back up tomorrow. We'll be streaming at noon EST, as I do every day, on the channel, except for Sunday. But tomorrow I'll be streaming on the Pixelogic ZBrush channel as well at 6 p.m. EST. If you guys are around, stop on by. It's twitch.tv/pixologic, Pixologic, at 6 p.m. EST, and I'm waiting for this to finish up here. Last thing I'll shout out here at the end is just my Gumroad, as I always do, gumroad.com/Follygon. Got stuff on here for courses for beginners, more stuff for intermediates and advanced users as well. Brushes, materials. I recently uploaded some new brushes, so if you guys own my brushes, you get the free update on that. I've uploaded my UI on here, my custom UI, if you guys are interested in that. Comes with my hotkeys and colors and everything.